Hey, my little meat sauce miracles around the world. It's Thursday, November 17th, and I'm finally catching up on sleep, taking care of things around the house. Pretty much plan to go into like work and hibernation mode the next 2 months. My birthday's coming up in January. I'm a January baby, I guess you could say. And yeah, holiday shopping season doesn't seem to be quite so spectacular this year. I did apply for a position delivering part time contract work for UPS, whose sole responsibility is to generate profit and growth in a growth economy. I want to vomit in my mouth, but I'm not. I'm just reporting the news. What news? North Korea just launched another missile towards our allies, and they vow to have a fiercer response. What is that, like the 23rd missile test this year? Yeah, most Americans are in some form of soft denial, unaware of the scientific evidence, and too busy to even give a flip. So that's where I come along. I wanted to give you a little update. I haven't done this in a few days. Climate and economy. No, I have not read or intend to read Greta Thunberg's new book, The Climate Book. Although it has probably a wealth of rich, informative, hopium-filled interviews with scientists and ecologists, let's say, around the world, I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying David Wallace Wells. I'm not buying the greenwashing media or the election process. Pretty much everything has been corrupted at this point. Not pretty much, it has been corrupted, and most of you won't make it to see your 40th birthday. So let's get into some climate roundup first. This is from Climate and Economy. Big shout out to Justin Panopticon for compiling this information daily. This starts off with, in a world first, the undeclared type of ice loss in Arctic has been measured, a type of ice loss known as frontal ablation, when chunks of ice break off from the edge of glaciers, remain largely unquantified in most glacial models. So great, this whole time they've just been quantifying melt rate and of sea mass ice and not the actual massive chunks of ice that are breaking off. Ablation is also used in ophthalmology, by the way, when you perform LASIK surgery. You ablate the surface of the eye so it changes the exterior of the eye so light refracts differently to your fovea and retina, and thus translated through the optic nerve into, I forgot, the image processing center of your brain, which is highly emotional. Back to the article, got a little tangent there. Starting with the Northern Hemisphere, 2 researchers become the first to map all glaciers that end the ocean and estimate their pace of change over the previous 20 years. Results reveal a chilling patterns from 20 to 2020 from 20 to 2000 and suggest ice loss by frontal ablation is greater than melt in some regions. Cool. Arctic cyclones intensify as climate change warms. Arctic lakes are disappearing fast, releasing all this melt from ice loss, as well as releasing tons of bacteria into our oceans and rivers around the world. In addition, bees have colonized freezing Arctic islands in Russian North by mistake, having been carried there by violent storms. Bees getting transported across the globe. 1 year after the crisis, there is ice on the northern sea route. Ireland is on its track for its warmest year on record. ASDA latest to ration eggs as supply issues continue to hit UK supermarkets. Customers are, and I'm hearing this all over, are continuing to turn up to supermarkets to find eggs out of stock. Due to the hot summer, we're now experiencing low availability of eggs. Christmas trees more expensive than ever. Severe drought hits southern Europe, threatens to drive up price of long grain rice by almost 29%. Continuing, this is horrific. In Somalia, I believe, there's a child being admitted to hospitalized care every minute. And Americans eating their Whoppers don't even bat an eye. Christians, yes. Women and young girls who survived the August flood are suffering from urinary tract infections, reproductive issues, and other health complications. More record heat waves in Asia. Fears of global wheat markets as rain hits Australian harvest. Some of my friends in Australia, can't even do it, are sending get a wombat. Australia is the world's #2 producer of wheat, and before last month's floods, global food markets have been hopeful. There's been a record crop could tighten. Global food markets have been hopeful that a record crop could ease tight inventories. Hopeful. Hopium. Argentina expected wheat production down as well. Toronto sets a new record for latest date below 0 degrees Celsius. Not like they're missing out on that. And Earth had its 4th warmest October on record. Quite a feat with the ongoing La Nina. Because you know it, we're waiting for El Nino. This is a long La Nina pattern. Let's get to today's economy news. Pretty dire. World leaders meet leaders as global economy faces multiple threats. World leaders gathered on Tuesday in a moment of severe geopolitical turmoil as the global economy sinks towards recession, weighed down by high inflation, growing scarcity of food, and side-by-side threats of oil shock and financial crisis. They signed a declaration on Wednesday, said the world economy was facing unparalleled, multi-dimensional crises. What a tongue twister. Ranging from war in Ukraine to a surge in inflation, which are forcing many central banks to tighten monetary policy. And Biden has ordered fuel distributors to keep greater inventories at home in a bid to ensure adequate supply of heating oil for the Northeast. Gonna freeze to death in New York. U.S. container freight is shrinking. At the largest ports, we're down 3.8% in September. Household debt is rising, and the U.S. is rising on its fastest pace since 2008. Fund managers are overwhelmingly expected at the end of the year to be stagflation, as we predicted for several years now we would get to this point. Drugstore shortages in Canada are now extending beyond children's pain and fever medication aisle into other over-the-counter and prescription drugs. Milk, egg, and cheese are now luxury items in the UK and Britain, with inflation hitting 11.1% in October, the highest rate in 41 years. How is that not batshit insane? Brits are paying the highest electricity bills in the world. British business send out lending SOS as piling pressures mount up. They must face into the storm, though, says Jeremy Hunt, as he delivers one of the most brutal budgets in modern history, calling for sacrifices, yes, from billionaires. Warns surging diesel prices risk worsening European energy crisis. Eurozone predicted to have a deep recession and a difficult, slow recovery. Russia officially enters a recession. Not like it matters or they care, given that they're trying to take over another country. That's a much bigger priority. China banks face $200 billion in losses from property. Argentina's annual inflation spikes to 88%. It's all happening at once. And the collapse of FTX, I really don't want to get into or care about. It was a Ponzi scheme, monopoly, with no tangible value, but made up money. So, hope you're enjoying your day, and leave a comment below. What do you think about all this information? All of you, your humor keeps me going. It does. And I'll talk to you later. See ya.